welcome to the podcast. So, I've been seeing trailers for this movie that has been blowing up on Facebook and Instagram, and I was like, okay, I need to see this thing. Luckily, I have connections. I was able to get the writer director and get a sneak peek of this film called The Shift. You've probably seen some of the ads, and this is Brock Heasley. That is his film. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you, Geoffrey. Happy to be here.
I really enjoyed this movie, and seeing that it is everywhere right now on social media, big push going on. Even my wife had heard of it, which was pretty
Oh,
awesome. And
cool.
getting to watch it, you've got some great stars on here. You got Neil McDonald, you got Sean Astin. I think I even saw John Billingsley from Star Trek on there.
Yeah.
So, can you just kind of walk me through the genesis of this script, how you were able to get this into production, and then eventually I want to talk about Angel Studios.
Yeah. So The Shift began as a little short story that I wrote back when I first started thinking about writing and just doing it for fun. And that was
Okay.
back during the MySpace era, believe it or not. And
Really?
I published it as a blog. And
That's
because back
amazing.
then blogs were so new and MySpace was so new that if you published something, you could get eyes on it pretty quickly. And
Okay.
this was a real novelty. It's like 2006. And so I published this little short story about this guy who has this terrible car accident, and he wakes up. There's this mysterious stranger, and he treats him to a dinner, and he's basically there to interview him for a terrible, terrible job. And this mysterious stranger has all this power, and there's parallel worlds and all these things involved.
That's awesome.
And it was just a kind of a lark, just something I published in 3 installments, and then I forgot about it.
Okay.
Years later, after a job loss, I pivoted into the film industry. And I remembered the short story I had written, and I suddenly realized that I had everybody I knew. That if I ever wanted to make something like a film or anything, that I knew the people who could help me do it. And so I wrote my first script, and I wrote and I directed my first short film, and that was called The Shift, and it was based on that short story that I had written. And then a few years after that, Angel Studios, they saw it. They were quite impressed with it. It actually turned out better than I expected, anybody expected, and they were impressed with it. And they basically asked me, is there more to this story? And I said, well, I do have some ideas how to turn this little short film into a feature film. And they said, well, great. Well, let's help you do that. And so now Here we are, about 5 years after that, and the movie's just come out.
Amazing. All right. A couple of follow-up questions, because you said you pivoted into film, and that I just, can I get a little bit more on that? I don't really hear that often. Like, I pivoted into film. So tell me a little bit about that transition.
Yeah, so I had a 15-year career as a graphic designer and as an art director, and I had always loved movies. Like, what's so great about art is that you can use the right side of your brain to create art, and then your left side of the brain is very, very unoccupied. And so I would do design, I would do illustration in my job, and then while I was doing that, I was listening to DVD commentaries over and over and over again, just because I love film. Like, I was the kid back in junior high. I had a subscription at Entertainment Weekly and to Starlog and all these, like, I just loved.
You were on all the trades.
Yeah. Like, I love to know how movies were made. I'm from California, but I'm from the part of California where, like, I may as well be 1,000 miles away from Hollywood. Like, there was no thought in my mind, oh, I'll make movies one day. Like, that wasn't ever it. It was just, I love movies and I want to know how they're made. And that love just persisted for decades. And so when I lost my job, it was really it was a tough moment, because I had 3 kids and a mortgage and all that stuff. And my wife actually had lost her job 24 hours before me. So we were both in this situation where, like,
I went through the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you really?
We did. We both lost our jobs at the same time. That's great. Was that like...
Oh, wow. I don't hear that too often.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I was approached by a local production company, and they had a movie coming out, a little, very cheap horror film that they had made that had somehow managed to get the attention of Blumhouse and was going out into 63 countries and all this stuff.
Can we get the name of it or no?
Yeah, it was called The Gallows. And
heard of it. That's awesome.
Yeah. It came out in 2015, and they realized they had this opportunity and they wanted to tell more stories. They knew I was a writer, and so they just asked if I would come and help them tell more stories. And they're like, but we're an indie, basically it's just 2 guys. Right. We're an indie company. We don't have any money. We can't pay you any money. So I go to my wife and I say, okay, look, I know I've been out of work for months. I have this opportunity to go work in the film industry and to continue to make no money. I think maybe I should at least investigate this. And for me, faith and prayer are a really important part of my life. And so
Yeah,
it was a matter of prayer for us. And for like a solid month, we just both like, just what do we do?
that's amazing.
The answer came back. We both came back together after a month, and we both received the same answer, which was like this crazy answer of yes, go do this, go continue to make no money. We'll figure it out, and you figure out this film industry thing. And it was about a year later that I shot the short film,
Wow.
and then that just kind of it's all snowballed to where it is now.
Okay, couple of more questions. Did you design the artwork for the soldiers, the sentries?
The design of the they're called Lancers in the movie, and
Lancers.
they're
Okay,
kind of
thank
like
you.
the stormtroopers in our world that
Yeah.
serve our bad guy. They got these great, just all white helmets, no
Yeah, it's
face, and then the black
fantastic.
riot gear and all that. The design was very much in my head. As a graphic
Okay.
designer, I think visually, and so, but it was executed by a storyboard artist. He kind of took
Okay.
the very fixed ideas I had, executed into a drawing, and then of course we had somebody else who came in and made them real.
So
So it was very
awesome.
much a collaborative effort in that
Yeah,
sense.
it's an iconic look, man. It's just so striking. So you made this short, and you said it got seen by Angel Studios.
Hmm.
W- Walk me through that. I mean, how did that happen? Did you do did you do like a film festival run, or like how did it break into where they could see it?
I did do a film festival run, and it received some nice notices, in that run. It was, but that wasn't how Angel Studios came across it.
Okay.
At the time, this is back in 2018, and Angel Studios was just getting started, and they had this. They were just starting to. Their process is really unique, where they crowdfund. Initially, they crowdfund for the budgets for their productions,
Okay.
and they were just doing that with their very first production, which was a TV show called The Chosen, which is about the life of Christ and his apostles.
Okay.
And they didn't have any of it made yet, but they were starting to get it out there, and they were doing the initial crowdfunding. And so there was a section on their website where you could submit your work for
Oh,
consideration. And so it
nice.
was it was just a blind submission. I submitted it, and they
Really?
loved it, and we went from there. And we were the second project they signed up after The Chosen. Just took a
That's
lot longer to get to
incredible.
screen.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. It seems like they kind of have like their own streaming network, sort of like you sign up and then you become a member of their Angel Studios and then you can watch all of their programming, it seems.
Yeah, they have their own app and their own and that app is like you can get it on Apple TV and Roku and
Got
places like
it.
that. But you
Okay.
can
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have free content on there, so you don't have to sign up for anything. But
Nice.
then if you do sign up and subscribe, you do get more than that. You can get early access to films like The Shift. You can watch that right now on there, and you can also you get free tickets to any movies that they come out with in the theaters. They came out with 4 last year, so that was a pretty good deal, and I think even more coming out this next year. And then you also what's really revolutionary about what they do is that as submissions come in, like
Yeah.
mine,
Mm-hmm.
the guild members get to watch them, and get to vote on them as to whether or not they should be developed further. And
That's
that's actually
awesome.
how the decision making is made. It's the decisions are made by
Wow.
the guild. It's by what scores they have to score at a certain level to even move forward.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, there have been some big stars, and that have come through with their what they call torches or their short films or whatever their proof of concept is that have been rejected by the guild. So
Wow.
it is a very democratic process in that sense.
I gotta tell you, I've worked on a couple of faith-based projects, screenplays, and one thing I'm noticing is that faith-based films are in a renaissance. So if you want to
Hmm.
go 20 years back, 30 years back, faith-based films are super small niche of a select production value, we could say, right? And
Yeah.
now they're bigger production values. You're getting bigger and bigger stars. Back in the day, there was like 2 or 3 stars you would get, and they would pretty much move from project to project. Now you're getting all kinds of talent wanting to be on these faith-based films. Um, were you shocked at the talent you could get, or I mean, I'm sure happily pleased, but I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I had no idea that this is really growing the way it is.
Yeah, well, definitely. I think you're right. There has been a revolution that has taken place. We are really demanding more, and honestly, most of the filmmakers, and now I'm kind of like in that group where we all
Yeah.
kind of know each other that are kind of operating in this
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
and most of us don't even like to call our films faith based. We really don't. We because of the stigma I think that has
I
been
get it.
attached
I
to
get
that
it.
because of exactly what you're talking about,
Yeah.
and our approach is very different. We're approaching things more of it's entertainment first, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and if anything, let's call it faith adjacent. Like we're going to take faith
That's an
seriously,
interesting.
and we're not going to shy away from it, but we're not going to make it the main thing either in what we're
Right.
doing. At least that's the goal. And so these stories that we're telling, I think they are working for people across a spectrum. There are a lot of fans of the shift that don't have any faith background at all. I mean,
Right.
John Billingsley is a perfect example. John Billingsley is an avowed and out atheist.
Yeah.
He came onto this film because he read the script and he's like, I love the way you're approaching this. Like, I'm
Awesome.
in.
Yeah.
So there is a different thing happening, and with that different thinking is yeah, there's like an upping of production values. We're attracting different kinds of talent,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's really exciting. And for my first feature, of course, to get this cast,
Oh man.
I got to give so much credit to our casting director Beverly Holloway and
Yeah.
to my producer Ken Carpenter, who both really came in and saw a vision for this film with an ensemble cast, not just like, hey, let's have one great guy who's just we'll pay through the nose for him, and then we'll just
Right.
populate the rest of the movie with just a few people that are that can basically get the lines out of their
And
mouths.
shoot him for like 2 days, and then
Yeah, yeah.
work his scenes throughout the whole film. No, I totally pick up what you're putting down. I really like the shift just from watching the trailers. I was like, man, okay. I leaned over my side. Okay, I got to get this guy in the show. This is incredible. Just that, and then after watching the film, what I was really picking up, because I always look for the human truth that the filmmaker is trying to pass along, and the one that I
Mhm.
was really picking up was really kind of being in that state of suffering and
Mhm.
wondering, why is my life this way? How do I work around this? How do I seek, a way of changing my life, making it better? Am I suffering for a reason? And to watch that approach this way through a dystopian uh, sci-fi feel was awesome. I really did enjoy it. I really think you were nailing the mark on it.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, that you're definitely tapping into what one of the goals was is, we all experience suffering. We all experience some dark times. I certainly have in my life. One of the
Yeah.
more seminal events of my life is my father was shot in an armed robbery when I was 12 years old. He was shot 13 times and he lived. 8 years
Wow.
later, the exact same thing happened again and he died.
Oh,
So it's like lightning striking twice, right? And it's something that those are pretty formative years for me, 12 to 19. I was 19 when he died. But out of that experience came this incredible empathy and understanding of suffering and understanding of why we go through things. I felt this love and forgiveness enter into my heart for the men who killed my father, which was
oh,
very unexpected. And it happened the night that he died, and all the anger that I initially felt that night, it just got wiped away. And I credit my faith with that. I credit a lot of different things with that. But I think even more than that, whether or not you have a faith, I think there is this idea that um, even in the darkness that we experience, even in the tough times that we have, there is still light. There are still positive things. There are still things to look forward to. And if we can
yeah.
grab onto those things, and we can actively participate in them. I think what you see happen with Kevin, our protagonist in the shift, is that he is
Yeah.
someone who is actively trying to make the world better, even though he
Love
is
it.
living in a terrible, terrible world. He is doing his part, and in doing his part, he's able to hold on to hope and he's able to be strong. And that's really kind of what I think. Some of what I love that you grabbed onto that because that's so much of what I think I was trying to say with the shift is
Oh
that
no, it was
we
coming
cannot
across.
passively have these things happen to us. We have to do something.
The best hero is an active hero, and Kevin, your central character, is absolutely a hero. But what I really love, and I'm not going to spoil this, but what I really love, part of that message of, why am I suffering and when can I finally get through this and find that peace, is that it may come in a way you don't expect. And that's
Right.
what I love, is because we all have, people talk about, oh, you got to manifest what you want. And I'm like, yes, I believe you need to go out there, you need to tell the divine, or tell the world, or whatever you believe in, this is what I want, this is what I
Right.
believe, and you put that out there. And will that come into fruition? Yes, but not in the way you expect. And that's the
Right.
part that I think most people don't realize. And to see that in your character's journey, I just thought was awesome.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because some people, I love that that you feel that way about it, because I've also had the opposite response from people who just absolutely reject the ending of this film,
Oh,
because they want to
okay.
have happen what they want to have happen. And
Ah,
so much of what the movie is saying is that you don't always get what you want, but that doesn't mean what you get isn't wonderful.
right. Yeah,
And it isn't
absolutely.
exactly what you should have. That's what I hope people can open themselves up to as they watch the film. Most people do fine with it, but there are those voices.
I think those voices that you're hearing are probably in the car ride home, or living out the rest of their day, and that message is sinking in slowly.
Yeah,
Even though they're trying to fight it tooth and nail, I think they're realizing. But that's the power of good cinema, sir. All right,
yeah.
so it's on Angel Studios in the app. So is there anything I haven't asked you that I should have?
Well, it's actually in other places as well.
Okay.
You can. It's currently it's on YouTube, and it's
Okay.
on Google Play. And then this week, it should be hitting Amazon, Apple, and also Vudu. So
Oh,
pretty much
fantastic.
anywhere. Probably by the time people hear this, pretty much
Yeah.
anywhere people want to watch it, they'll be able to catch the shift.
That's awesome.
Um,
So kind of like Angel Studios kind of had like a release ahead of time, and now it's kind of just
yeah,
making the spectrum. All right, fantastic, very good.
yeah, exactly.
Well, do me a favor, Brock. Next time you have a film coming out, hit me up. I'd love to have you back on the show.
Yeah, I'd love to do it.
I really enjoyed this. Thanks again.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much, Jeffrey.